She was rejected for being black until the CEO walked in. The pen snapped in her hand, not because it was weak, not because she was careless, because the man across the table had just smiled, thin, polite, practiced, and said, "We don't think you're a cultural fit." Adaeze didn't move at first. The broken plastic edge pressed into her palm, a sharp sting that grounded her. She watched the ink bleed slowly across her fingers, dark and spreading like something trying to escape. Cultural fit. She had heard many things since she moved to Seoul. Curious questions, backhanded compliments, awkward silences. But this one always came wrapped in silk, soft enough to sound harmless, sharp enough to cut. She inhaled slowly, forcing her voice steady. "I speak Korean fluently," she said, her accent light, controlled. "Graduated top of my class. My portfolio matches everything listed in your requirements." The interviewer nodded, not even glancing at her documents anymore. His eyes had already moved on. "Yes, yes, your qualifications are impressive," he said, folding his hands. "But this role involves client-facing responsibilities. Image is important." "Image." Her chest tightened. She leaned forward slightly. "Are you saying my image is a problem?" There was a flicker, just a flicker of discomfort in his expression. Then it disappeared. "Not a problem," he corrected smoothly. "Just not aligned with what our clients expect." Silence settled in the room. Behind the glass walls, she could see other employees moving, typing, laughing softly. Life continued as if nothing had just happened, as if her entire future hadn't just been quietly dismissed in a single sentence. Adaeze swallowed. She had flown across continents for this opportunity, studied nights until her eyes burned, learned every nuance of the language, every cultural cue, every invisible rule. She had done everything right. And still, "Thank you for your time," she said finally, standing up. Her voice didn't shake. That surprised her. The interviewer smiled again, relieved now that it was ending. "We wish you the best." "Of course you do," she thought. She bowed slightly, because she had learned that too, then turned and walked out. Each step down the hallway felt heavier than the last. By the time she reached the elevator, her vision blurred. Not tears. She refused to cry here. The doors slid open with a soft chime. She stepped inside, pressing the button for the ground floor. The mirrored walls reflected her back at herself. Dark skin, sharp eyes, posture still straight despite everything. "You're fine," she whispered under her breath. "You're fine." The elevator began to descend, then stopped. The doors opened again on the executive floor. She almost didn't notice him at first. Tall, impeccably dressed, surrounded by two assistants who seemed to orbit him like satellites. His presence filled the space before he even stepped in. When he did, the air shifted. Adaeze instinctively stepped back to give him room. He entered without looking at her, his attention on a tablet in his hand. The assistants remained outside. The doors slid shut. Silence again, but this silence felt different, heavier, charged. She kept her gaze forward, focusing on the numbers as they ticked down. Then, wait. The word was quiet, sharp. She froze. Hold the elevator. She hadn't touched anything, but somehow her hand moved anyway, pressing the button. The elevator halted between floors. Her heart skipped. Slowly she turned. He was staring at her now. Not casually. Not politely. Intently. His eyes moved over her face, searching, scanning as if trying to pull something from memory. Her pulse quickened. "Is something wrong?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he stepped closer. Too close. Close enough that she could see the faint scar along his jawline. Close enough that she could hear his breathing shift. "What is your name?" he asked. The question caught her off guard. "Adaeze," she said. "Adaeze Okafor." The moment her last name left her lips, something changed. It was subtle, but undeniable. His entire expression shifted. Recognition. Shock. Disbelief. He took another step forward, his voice dropping. "Say that again." "Adaeze Okafor." He exhaled sharply, almost like he had been hit. "No," he murmured, shaking his head slightly. "That's not possible." Confusion twisted in her chest. "I'm sorry. Do you know me?" He looked at her then, really looked at her, and for the first time since she walked into that building, she felt seen. 3 years ago, he said slowly, in Busan, there was an accident. Her breath caught. A flicker of memory, sirens, shattered glass, the smell of burning metal. She hesitated. I was there. You pulled a man out of a car, he continued, before it exploded. Her fingers curled slightly. I didn't pull him out, she said quietly. I just helped. He let out a humorless laugh. You dragged him across asphalt with your bare hands, he corrected, while everyone else stood there filming. Her chest tightened. I couldn't just leave him, she said. Silence. Then I was that man. The words hit like a physical force. She stared at him, her mind scrambling to connect the pieces. The blood, the broken windshield, the weight of his body as she struggled to move him. The way he had gone still just seconds after she got him clear. Her voice barely came out. You're Kim Jisoo, he said. The name landed heavily. Even she knew it. CEO, founder, one of the most powerful figures in the industry. Her knees felt weak. I thought you died, she whispered. I almost did, he replied, but I didn't. Another pause. And I never found you. Her throat tightened. I didn't do it for recognition, she said quickly. I know. His voice softened, but his gaze remained intense. That's why I never forgot. The elevator was still paused between floors. Time seemed to stretch. Finally, he reached out, then stopped himself, his hand hovering before dropping back to his side. You were just in an interview, he said. It wasn't a question. She nodded slowly. Yes. And? A bitter smile tugged at her lips. Apparently, I'm not the right image. Something dark flickered in his eyes. Who interviewed you? She hesitated. It's not important, she said. I understand. No, he cut in sharply. You don't. The authority in his voice was absolute. He turned, pressing a button. The elevator began to rise. Wait, she started. I already left. You didn't leave, he said calmly. You were dismissed. The difference hung in the air, and I'm correcting that. Her heart pounded as the elevator ascended past the floor she had just left at, higher, to a level she hadn't even seen on the directory. The doors opened. This floor was different. Quieter, sleeker, more powerful. He stepped out, then glanced back at her. Come. She hesitated for only a second before following. Every step felt surreal. He led her down a corridor lined with glass offices, stopping in front of a large conference room. Inside, the same interviewer sat with two others reviewing documents. Kim Jisoo didn't knock. He opened the door and walked in. The conversation inside died instantly. All three men stood up. Sir, sit, he said. They sat. Adaeze remained near the door, her pulse racing. He turned slightly, gesturing for her to step forward. She did. This candidate, he said, his voice calm but carrying unmistakable weight, was just rejected. The interviewer shifted uncomfortably. Yes, we believed she was not a cultural fit, Jisoo finished. Silence. The man swallowed. Yes. Jisoo nodded slowly. Explain. The room tightened. Well, the interviewer began, his confidence visibly cracking. As I mentioned, the role involves client-facing. Is she qualified? Yes, but is she more qualified than your current hires? A pause. Yes. Does she speak the language? Yes. Does she meet every requirement listed? Yes, but then the issue, Jisoo said softly, is not her. No one spoke. The weight of his words pressed down on the room. Adaeze's chest felt tight, her emotions swirling too fast to process. I built this company, Jisoo continued, on the idea that excellence matters more than perception. He glanced at Adaeze briefly. Apparently, that message didn't reach this room. The interviewer's face had gone pale. Sir, we didn't mean. I know exactly what you meant. The calmness in his tone was more terrifying than anger. He turned fully toward Adaeze now. What position did you apply for? Brand strategy lead, she said quietly. He nodded. Effective immediately, you're hired. The words hung in the air, her breath caught. What? Not just hired, he added. Promoted. The room went completely still. You'll report directly to me. Shock rippled across the faces of the interviewers. Adaze's mind spun. This doesn't feel right, she said, her voice unsteady. I don't want special treatment because of something I did years ago. Jisoo studied her for a long moment. Then, this isn't special treatment, he said. It's correction. He stepped closer, his voice lowering just enough that only she could hear. You already proved who you are. They just refused to see it. Her throat tightened. Emotion surged, anger, relief, disbelief, all crashing together. I don't need saving, she said quietly. A faint smile touched his lips. I know, he replied. That's why you're here. Silence. Then slowly she nodded. Okay, she said, and in that moment everything shifted, because this wasn't just about a job anymore. It was about being seen, and this time she wasn't invisible.